After more than 50 cruises, I've seen just about every bad cruise passenger behavior that you can imagine. I've watched someone sprint past a woman with a walker to grab the last spot in an elevator. I've seen a single towel claim 6 loungers at 6:45 in the morning while the owners went back to bed until at least 10 o'clock. And I very recently watched a passenger berate a bar server over a frozen drink for so long that the entire bar went quiet. Does any of that sound familiar? Well, I bet at least one of those does if you've ever cruised before. So today, we're ranking the 10 worst passenger behaviors on a cruise ship, from the mildly annoying all the way up to the one that, in my opinion, crosses a real line and gets me quite mad on cruises. And I'll tell you right now, my number one is probably not going to be your number one. And a fair warning before we get started, if we're being honest here, just about everyone watching this, myself included, has probably done at least one thing on this list at some point or another. So as you watch, drop your own worst offenders in the comments because I want to see where you all land on all of these. And kicking things off at number 10 is the passenger who takes a call or even a FaceTime call on speaker at full volume right in the middle of the solarium or some other normally quiet corner of the ship where everybody around them came specifically for the quiet. Here's the part that I find kind of fascinating about all this. This person paid real money for a Wi-Fi package to stay connected, which is completely fine. I do the same thing on cruises, but headphones cost just a fraction of that at about $12 at the port shop. Now, there was actually a viral Reddit post about this recently proposing that anyone who FaceTimes or even talks on the phone without headphones on board should have their Wi-Fi package revoked on the spot. And you know what? I actually think that rule would win a shipwide vote in a landslide. It lands at number 10 on this list because it's a passive kind of inconsiderate. Nobody loses a lounger over it. It just slowly wears down everyone within earshot. So tell me, would you support the Wi-Fi revocation rule? That'd be something new that we need to look into. Now, coming in at number 9 is something newer, stranger, and something that's spreading fast across every major cruise line right now. And that's door magnet theft. If you're not familiar, a lot of cruisers like to decorate their cabin doors with magnets, things like flamingos, ship silhouettes saying how many cruises they've been on or what ships they've been on, anniversary signs, upside down pineapples, you name it. Well, lately people have been stealing them right off strangers' doors, usually in the middle of the night. And let me stop you before anyone says it's just kids being kids. Well, not so fast there, because one passenger on Wonder of the Seas actually had security pull the hallway footage, and the culprit turned out to be a grown woman. It sits at number 9 on this list because the actual harm is small, but think about it for just a second. Nobody steals a $3 flamingo because it's something that they needed. They do it just to be a pain in the butt. And for me, it raises a fair question about how that same person behaves across the rest of the ship's shared spaces, which actually brings us right to number 8. And this one covers buffet etiquette. And I'm bundling a few things together here, a few offenses together, because let's be real, they tend to travel in packs. Number 1, there's the using of hands instead of the tongs to get the food. That's so disgusting. Then there's the licking fingers or sneezing into your hand and then using the tongs, which somehow is even worse than the first. And then, of course, there's the cutting of the queue because someone just needs to grab one thing. And then, of course, there's the family that camps out at a 6-seat table through the entire peak breakfast or lunch rush while other passengers circle the buffet area with plates of food going cold. The bare hands issue is one that really matters here. And that's because there's a reason that the cruise lines are so obsessive about those hand washing stations at the buffet entrance. You know, the washy dancers. We've seen them on Royal or we've seen them on TikTok. They exist for a reason, and that's because norovirus and other viruses do not care about anyone's vacation plans, and just one bare hand in that breadbasket can take down 100 cabins by Thursday. And I've actually been on a sailing during an outbreak, and trust me, it was not fun being in Asia on a ship alone, just hoping that it didn't catch up to me. This one stays at number 8 only because, in my experience, most buffet offenders are oblivious rather than intentional, and a little bit of awareness usually fixes most of it. Now, number 7 on my list needs a careful setup because I know the comment section is already primed on this one. This is not about kids. Kids are supposed to run around and be excited. I mean, From their perspective, they're living on a floating theme park for the week, right? No, this one is about the parents who board the ship and then mentally check out and treat the crew and the other 4,000 or so passengers as a free babysitting service. And you've seen the results. The unsupervised group of 10-year-olds pressing every single button in the elevator, the cannonball contest happening directly next to the no diving sign at the pool. Yes, even at the retreat and yacht club pools, I've seen it there too. Kids in the adult-only hot tub at 9 p.m., not a parent in sight. The hallway sprinting games at midnight. And in fact, on my last cruise, I even saw some kids playing some weird version of pickleball down my hallway at midnight. Now, here's what makes this frustrating rather than just unfortunate. The kids' clubs on modern ships are excellent. I mean, they appear to be really good from what I've seen. And they're free. They're staffed by trained professionals. And really, it seems like most kids have more fun there than they would trailing their parents around the ship all day. The resources exist. So choosing not to use them and not to supervise your kids either, well, that's the part that affects everyone else on board, usually negatively. It ranks 7th because the kids themselves are blameless here. It's really on the parents. And if I'm being real with you, well-timed cannonball can at least be entertaining from time to time. So tell me what you think about this. Should kids even be allowed in the hot tubs at all? Number 6 is hallway noise, and specifically those cabin doors slamming. If you've cruised before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Cabin doors are heavy. They're spring-loaded, and if you just let one go, it closes with a bang that travels through the wall like a gunshot. Add to that the group holding a full-volume conversation, sometimes even shouting and screaming outside of your cabin at 1 a.m., directly next to where your head is, where you're trying to sleep, because let's be real, cruise ship walls are roughly the thickness of a graham cracker. And here's what pushes this one into the top 6 for me. It's the one you cannot escape, because on a sea day, you can walk away from almost any other annoyance on this list. You can leave the buffet, you can find another deck to sit on, whatever, but you cannot leave your own cabin at 1 a.m. when you're trying to sleep. That room is your one refuge on the entire ship, and a slamming door every 20 minutes takes it away from you. And the fix? Well, it costs nothing and takes just 2 seconds. You can put your hand on that door and guide it closed. That's it. That's the entire technique done, finished for you. And with that, we are entering the top 5. And the top 5 is where this list stops being funny and gets a little bit more serious. And number 5 actually happens to be one that really bothers me, and that is room service trays and half-eaten food left out in the hallway. You've seen this scene on cruises before, right? You're walking to your cabin, and the hallway looks like the aftermath of some food festival gone wrong. I mean, a tray with a half-eaten hamburger, 2 plates of chicken wing bones somewhere else, a random piece of pizza somehow in the elevator, not even on a plate, a bowl of melted ice cream, sweating into the carpet, and sometimes it just sits out there for hours. I've walked past the same abandoned plate of nachos at lunch, and then again at dinner on one particular sailing. Now, I know the standard defense here is that, well, the crew's going to pick it up eventually, and technically, sure, they will. That's what they do. But there's usually a phone sitting right there in the cabin, and one quick call to room service, and they're going to come collect your tray, or it can simply sit inside your door until they do. It doesn't have to be out in the hallway. And beyond that, consider this, please, because there's a real safety risk with this too, because hallways on a moving ship are very narrow, and so a tray on the floor becomes a tripping hazard for all passengers, but especially for those who may have mobility issues, and they're even an obstacle for every wheelchair and scooter that happens to be on that deck. And it cracks the top 5 for me because, unlike a door slam, this one involves a deliberate decision. Someone physically carried that tray into a shared space and just sat it down, and that's a different category of behavior than simple carelessness, in my opinion. Coming in at number 4 is seat saving. And to be clear, I don't mean holding a spot while someone runs to the bathroom. That's fine. We've all done that. No, I mean that passenger, and we all know them. We've seen them before. They show up to the theater 45 minutes early. They drape cardigans and lanyards across an entire row in the theater, hundreds of seats. And then they stand guard over those 8 empty seats until showtime. And what stands out to me here is just how lopsided the math is, because if the show matters that much to your group, well, guess what? The group could arrive early together. Reserving a row instead means deciding that one group's convenience outweighs 8 other people's evening. And on production show nights on a full cruise ship, seats really do run out fast. I mean, people are being turned away at the door while an entire row of cardigans enjoys the performance. If you're thinking this sounds like a close cousin of certain pool deck behavior, well, you're right, and I'll get to exactly why that one ranks even higher in just a minute. But next up At number 3 is the passenger who charges into the elevator before anyone else has gotten off. You know the moment, it's so aggravating. The doors are open, there are visibly people inside trying to exit, and someone hits the gap anyway, forcing an 80-year-old woman and a parent with a stroller maybe to work their way out through oncoming traffic. And look, the physics here are not complicated, y'all. The elevator cannot absorb new people until the current people leave. And yet, etiquette experts literally have to write this rule down. Let the people exiting off the elevator first. And the elevator rusher rarely travels alone, by the way, because they tend to come bundled with the button masher. You know the one who hits the door close, or just standing there poking that door close button the instant they board while you're standing there outside trying to board. And then there's also the passenger who sees 6 people in a 14-person elevator and quietly decides it's full. So they just press that button. So why does this rank third above hallway trays? Well, because it's the same self-interest, but it lands hardest on the most vulnerable people on the ship. Passengers using mobility scooters, walkers, and strollers lose this exchange every single time. It's simply inconsiderate. And on ships that are sailing with 4,000 or 5,000 people, elevator etiquette isn't just a nicety. For some passengers, it's literally the difference between getting around the ship and not. All right, we've made it to number 2, and you knew that this one was coming, the chair hog. If you polled 1,000 cruisers, and cruise sites have effectively done exactly that, combing through thousands of passenger comments, chair hogging wins the most hated crown just about every time. And it starts with that 6 a.m. towel drop across 4 loungers in prime pool real estate, followed by a 2-hour breakfast, a spa appointment, and maybe even an afternoon nap. Meanwhile, on a sunny sea day when every single deck chair matters, those towels sit there for hours while actual humans wander the deck with nowhere to sit. Now, I promised I'd explain why this ranks above the seat saver at number 4, that seat saver in the theater, since it really is the same instinct at work. And the difference is scale and stakes. A safe theater row costs people one single show that might repeat itself either later that evening or later in the cruise. But a towel-claimed lounger can cost them an entire sea day. And unlike the theater, there is no next showing of a sunny afternoon sailing in the Caribbean. And here's the real kicker. Most lines technically have a rule that a chair left unattended for about 30 minutes or so can be cleared by the crew. But in practice, it's almost never enforced because no crew member wants to start their morning in an argument with some Karen over a towel. So the strategy works, everyone on the pool deck knows it works, and it's exactly why it generates more frustration than almost anything else at sea and anything else on this list. And let me know this, have you ever moved a chair hog's towel yourself? I'm curious, so be honest with me down in the comments, because I know I've been quite tempted on several occasions, but never have quite executed. Because in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to show up at any minute and catch me with their stuff, carrying it across the deck, setting it somewhere else. So I never have done it, but have you? And coming in at number 1, and for me, it isn't even close here. Passengers who are rude to the crew. I'm talking about snapping fingers at bar servers, shouting at guest services over a $15 dispute, talking down to a cabin steward, blaming a crew member personally for the weather or an itinerary change. And I have seen every single one of these happen on multiple lines at every single price point. So no, this is not a budget cruise problem or one particular cruise line problem or another. And I've even watched it play out in luxury suites on cruises too. Let's think a little bit about the person on the receiving end of this, because I think this matters and is something that we all need to consider. That crew member is very likely 6 or 7 months into an 8 or 9 month contract. They work 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're thousands of miles from home and often supporting a family back home with this job. They serve thousands of people a week. They somehow remember your drink order by day 2 of the cruise, and they do it with a warmth that, for me, is truly one of the best parts of cruising. So let that sink in for just a second, and we'll all come to the conclusion together of just how egregious this behavior is toward the crew. And here's what separates this from everything else on the list. Every other behavior we've ranked today is passenger versus passenger, a reasonably fair fight. You can say something to that elevator rusher. You can flag a chair hog with the pool staff, but the crew cannot push back. Their contract and their livelihood depend on absorbing a passenger's worst moment and responding with, of course, right away. And directing that worst moment at someone who is professionally required to accept it, well, in my opinion, that's the clearest line anyone can cross on a cruise ship. And the cruising community largely agrees with me on this one, by the way. When Cruise Critic asked its members about their biggest pet peeves, watching fellow passengers yell or demean the crew came up again and again, with people asking others to simply act with basic maturity and grace. But here's the good news. The alternative costs you absolutely nothing. Saying please and thank you, well, that's free on a cruise. Learning your steward's name, that's also free. And filling out that post-cruise survey with the name of the crew member who took care of you, that's free too. And it's one of the few things that directly helps their career. So if you take nothing else from this video, please take that. And if you're the kind of cruiser who learns your steward's name and fills out that survey, the kind who actually cares how this whole floating world works, well, that's exactly who this channel is for, because I do too. I love cruising and I make honest, detailed cruise content for people who take cruising seriously. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and come along on all my cruising adventures with me. So that's my list of 10, but now it's your turn, because really, this is where the fun starts. I want you to go down below in the comments and tell me what I ranked too high and what I missed entirely, because I know there's things like smoking on the balconies that almost made my list. It just missed it, actually. So let's see other bad behaviors that didn't make this list. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to go down below, give it a thumbs up, and check out more of the videos that I have on my channel. Subscribe for more cruise content to come very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.